Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here. So today we're going over some of my absolute favourite setups for the new redacted map in Battlefield 2042, both in terms of specialists and weapons. The XP grind is considerably slower this season than previously, so we really need to be using the best setups possible to get as much XP as we can. And, you know, with this new map being much smaller and infantry focused, it actually opens up a lot of possible playstyles that were honestly kind of bad before. Also, if you're a new player, well, I'm going to share with you some of the most effective builds in the game that shouldn't be too hard to unlock and get set up here. Before we begin, if you guys do enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot. So as always, thank you for the support. Okay, so the first setup here is going to be for Recon. We have Pike with the MCS 880 shotgun. Now this weapon was arguably one of, if not the worst weapons in the game, but DICE have actually buffed this thing into being one of the best. Its one hit kill range is absolutely insane sometimes, and it's generally a 2-shot at most. Now the weapon attachments here are pretty simple. Factory barrel, you can also take a suppressor, mostly for the cool sound, or I know I do sometimes. Laser sight for increased hipfire potential. For ammo types, there are a few to choose from. I find that the number 4 buckshot is pretty good. I honestly thought that the slugs would be insane, but in practice they don't really feel much different to me. But you know, feel free to experiment around. The main thing here though is to make sure you equip 3 different kinds of ammo, so when you run out of one, you can switch to another. And then finally we have whatever optic you prefer. I always take the Fusion Hollow Sight whenever it's available. Now, running as Pike here actually allows you to get a ton of spot assists, and if you aren't aware, whenever you spot somebody in 2042 and a teammate kills them, that counts as an assist for you just for spotting them, and an assist is worth half as many points as a kill. So what I recommend here is taking the tugs and smoke grenades. Whenever you get to a choke point, throw down that tugs and it will start spawning enemies like crazy for you, generating a bunch of points and also getting you intel ribbons. Now as for Pike's scanner, this is essentially wall hacks that ping enemies about once every second for a few seconds at a time. So in my opinion, the best way to utilize this is through the smoke. So again, when you get to one of those meat grinder sections, throw down some smoke, pop your scanner, and you can just shoot people with the shotgun straight through the smoke. It's honestly pretty overpowered. And then of course, as a recon gadget, you will have a spawn beacon that you can hide somewhere for some amazing flanking opportunities. Now before we move on to the next step, you can use this setup with other recon specialists as well. Blasco is incredibly good for this map, and some would argue she is the best recon specialist in the game, but as a newer player, you may not have unlocked her just yet. But Rao is also insane for spotting right now because his hack ability has actually just been buffed. It's been changed so that when you hack a target, every enemy around that target is 3D spotted in the game for a period of time. So similar to Pike, he can throw down smoke into a choke point, hack one enemy on the other side, and then have pretty much everyone around that enemy spotted. And not spotted like Pike's scanner where it's only a ping, they will actually be permanently spotted for the entire period. So, you know, that's pretty OP as well, although you do have to put yourself in a little bit of harm's way to actually get the hack off on the enemy in the first place. Moving on to our second setup, this one is going to be for support. Arguably one of the best all-round builds in the entire game. It's Falk with the PP29. So let's begin with the weapon again here. The PP29 is and always has been one of the best weapons in the game. Its TTK isn't blisteringly fast or anything like that, but it does well over almost every range except the longest. It pairs really well with Falk since support specialists have a proficiency that allows them to switch to SMGs faster. It's got great hip fire and its ADS speed is super fast because it's an SMG. However, what really sets this weapon apart is its ammo pool. With the standard ammo, you get 64 rounds to play with here, which is quite frankly just unheard of on most SMGs and almost double that of some assault rifles. The setup is super simple. Tactical compensator with a suppressor, although they have heavily nerfed them, so I'm not sure I would even bother using one anymore. Standard issue ammo with high power and subsonic in reserve, and then the optic of your choice. As for Falk herself, I typically run with the ammo box so that you can both heal yourself and allies with her Surette pistol as well as resupply them, which will really help with getting those logistics ribbons for extra XP. But I guess you can also take the new ammo pouches if you've unlocked those, although do bear in mind that they cannot resupply engineers with launcher ammo as far as I know. I also like to run smoke here once again so that you can lay down smoke and then slide in to revive your teammates. So this setup really has the potential to get a ton of XP. You have a lot of killing potential, being able to constantly heal yourself. You can heal teammates and throw down ammo for those logistics ribbons, and you can revive players for wingman ribbons. Now the other support specialist I would give a shout out to here is Irish. Honestly, it's really hard for me to justify not playing Falk because her Surette pistol is just that good, but I would also consider Irish. His gadget soaks up enemy grenades that are being thrown at your position, so obviously that is indispensable in the choke points like we see on Redacted, and I'm sure that'll net you a ton of XP as well. Now moving into the third setup here, we have a really solid assault setup. McKay with the AM-40, one of my favorite assault rifles. So the AM-40 is a weapon from a previous season, which means if you're a new player, you'll have to complete some sort of challenge achievement to unlock this, but you should be able to see the requirements in the collection screen. Now the AM-40, I will admit, is not the easiest to use weapon when you first start off with it. It has 850 RPM, so it does have a considerable amount of kick or recoil to it, but in my opinion, it is one of the assault rifles that has a really high RPM with a fast TTK that doesn't really sacrifice too much in terms of effective range as long as you can tame that recoil. So for the setup, I use the tactical compensator, but if you do have trouble with the recoil, you can use the Warhawk compensator instead, and then I take the MGL laser sight and standard issue drum magazine. As always with every other weapon in the game, you want your other ammunition types as backup. And with this setup, it won't even matter if you don't have an ammo box because the assault class get 3 extra magazines specifically for assault rifles, and then you've also got your other ammunition types to go at as well, so you can really keep playing on one life without running out of ammo for ages. For McKay, I prefer to take smoke, but if you want to grab a frag grenade or a concussive grenade, those are great choices as well. And then for his gadget, I would take either C5 or the SPH launcher. The SPH, even after the nerf, it's basically a free kill in a choke point, so honestly, probably quite a bit better than C5 in most situations for CQC. Now where McKay really shines in this map is on the B and the C flags, those big open objectives with the biomes overhead. On these flags, there are vertical positions that only McKay can grapple to, and they are absolutely ripe for abuse. You would not believe the number of players who simply don't look up there, and it's so easy to pop up, empty your mag, and then duck back down to pop a stim and reload, and then just rinse and repeat. Also, McKay's nimble trait that gives him a faster ADS walk speed, it doesn't sound that impressive on paper, but it is actually really huge, especially on a CQC map like this. I will say this though, this setup relies much more on you being good at killing enemy players to acquire XP. You are going to have a harder time getting the other ribbons in the game playing this build simply because it doesn't really do anything to support your team. And that actually segues nicely into the ribbon system. So if you weren't aware, there are 5 different kinds of ribbon you can earn in 2042. Each one of them will net you 500 additional XP, but you can only get 3 of each ribbon in a single round. Objective ribbons can obviously be gotten by any class by playing the objective, and I would argue that the same goes for combat ribbons and wingman ribbons, since all you need for those are kills and assists. But logistics ribbons can only be gotten by healing, resupplying, and repairing vehicles, and as such, you can't earn these by playing Recon or Assault. So for those, I would recommend the Falk build. Similarly, intel ribbons are mostly earned by spotting enemies, and whilst yes, everyone can manually spot enemies in the game, you'll be much faster earning these 3 ribbons by playing my Recon build. So if you really want to maximize XP earned in a single round, keep an eye on how many ribbons you've earned, and if you're playing as, let's say, Pike, and you already have your 3 intel ribbons, well, maybe switch it up, go over to Falk, so that you can work on the logistics ribbons instead. And obviously the end goal here is to end up with 3 of each of the 5 kinds of ribbon, giving you a total of 15. So I hope this helped some of you guys out. Obviously, I know many of you know these things already, but since we've seen so many new players joining the community lately, I figured I would share what has been working for me. I would also love to hear your guys' suggestions for specialist and weapon setups below. I know many of you will probably mention the new assault rifle, and yes, it is ridiculously overpowered, but a lot of people still don't have it yet, so that's why I didn't include it here in the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Come check out the Twitch channel if you're interested in hanging out there and playing a few games. Thank you to my members and Twitch subs for their additional support, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.